me, I'm an emergency medical technician. I've been one for 24 years, but I currently work in the emergency room department in Fort McMurray. Been there for 7 years. Married to Espresso, Trevor. Trevor has 2 girls from a previous marriage. I have a boy and a girl from a previous marriage. Fun fact, I'm a twin. Hey, so my twin sister is Jeanette, and a couple weeks ago we turned 50. Thank you. So I was born in a Pentecostal home, and I was raised in church. I moved away from home at the age of 19. I moved to Jasper, lived as a hippie for a little while, then moved to Grand Prairie where I met my first husband. We lived the party lifestyle. Drugs and alcohol were in abundance, and the bar dance floor was where I spent most of my time. So after 7 years together, we were having a baby. So I changed my lifestyle. My parents put the gospel seed in me, and I knew I wanted to raise my children that way. So in 2006, my son arrived, or 2004, my son arrived. 2006, my daughter arrived. I spent a few years of my life being a stay-at-home mom and raising my children. So when my children grew independent and didn't need mommy 24/7, I went looking for my husband. We had grown so far apart that we didn't know each other anymore. I left him to be a full-time mom to my children, and he left me to do that. Don't get me wrong, we tried to fix it. We went to counseling, but I'll never forget the day he told me he was moving out. We were not Christians. We didn't have faith in God to fix it. So 18 years of marriage, 4 lives were ruined. Mine, my husband's, and 2 of my children's. So I fell into a dark place. I started drinking a lot, and I lost enormous amounts of weight. My kids were going back and forth week for week, and the week that they were with their dad are the weeks I could not get out of bed. I was 40 years old, and something had to change. My life was like a revolving door, going around in circles. I was a soldier with no armor. I started going to church again, bringing my kids, and I did give my heart back to the Lord then. I made all the right motions. I showed up for church. I went to women's ministries. I volunteered in Sunday school. I was even the games coordinator at Kids Praise on Wednesday nights. I hung out with godly people, and life seemed good. But there was something missing from my Christian life. It was God. Imagine a Christian with no God. Makes no sense, right? But like Tom said, I wasn't prepared. Spiritual fitness. So 1 Timothy 4:7 says, spend your time and energy for training yourself for spiritual fitness. Well, I never prayed. I never worshiped. I never gave thanks, and my Bible had more dust on the pages as it sat over the years unread. My Christian life was like a revolving door again. And soon, I gave way to sin. Having unsaved friends made it very easy for the devil to get at me. And not training for spiritual fitness made me weak. So I gave up my church pew for a bar stool, and that's where I spent most of my days. But God didn't like my game, and he was about to prove it to me. I was still a part of a women's prayer group that I gave every excuse in the book not to show up for. The name of the group was, the book we were doing was, What Happens When Women Say Yes to God. And so this particular night, I'm like sitting there so uncomfortable, I don't fit in here. And the chapter we were doing that night is, God didn't make you to fit in. And I was like, literally? Thanks, God. It was like a smack in the face. But I left that home and I believed the devil, and I went back to my bar stool and I ignored it. About a week later, an email came in from our pastor, and he was announcing the salvation of a youth. He didn't mention names, but I knew right away who it was. This guy's name was Kyle. Kyle was the son of my barstool partner. And I said, how in the world can God touch the soul of this lost child that I could literally call my own? And again, gobsmacked. So following few weeks later, God was tearing at my heart and my mind, and I started going back to church. And of course, sitting in the back seat so that I can make a dash for the door. I don't want nobody to talk to me. I don't need nobody preaching at me. I'm just here to show up. So as I was darting out the door, again, you don't know this person, but her name is Janice Helston. Janice at that time had a daughter, 7, 8 years old, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And she was in and out of the children's hospital. They had to remove this tumor from her brain, which left her daughter speechless and unable to walk. So she said, I've been trying to catch you for weeks. She said, God laid your name upon my heart to pray for you. And she handed me a note. I could not even utter a word to her because knowing her situation. I go home, I sat on a stool, it was literally on the floor, a stepping stool, and I wept and I wept. I'm like, God, how could you lay my miserable name on that lady's heart when she's got such a situation going on with her children, her child already, so many more burdens of her own. It took me about 3 days to open her note. And it was just encouraging words. One statement was, my provision is enough for everyone, every problem, every worry, every fear in your life. You do not have to be anything or be anyone. You are loved with an unconditional, unfailing love. I'm pleased with you right now. You do not have to do anything but trust me. Janice also wrote down Psalms 103, reminding me that God is compassionate and generous and gracious, and he is waiting for me to rid myself of my old life. I tried to mix my new Christian life with my old life, made some mud, and it didn't work no more. So May 24th, on a Sunday in 2015, I followed the bull to the altar, and I asked the pastor to pray the sinner's prayer with me. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man can come to the Father except through me. When we open our hearts to Jesus, our challenges will not disappear, but he will help us with them and our troubles, and he'll get us safely through the door to eternal life. Mark 2:22 says, no one puts new wine in old wineskins, right? What happens? It festers.
Yeah.
New wine goes in new wineskins. Jesus' presence changed everything. In 2017, I reconciled with my high school sweetheart.
Who is that?
And I married him a year later.
What a cool.
Our first year of marriage was not the happiest though, but believe me, there was no lack of love. If it wasn't for that man pursuing me the way he does, damn. Just saying. I decided to pack up. I was still in Newfoundland, so we were long distance. He was in Fort McMurray. So I decided to pack up my life and move to be with him in Fort McMurray. I had 2 children. My daughter was not willing to come. So my son and I left her behind with with her father, I mourned her like a great loss. Not having my daughter with me tore my heart to pieces. But I had my son, Trevor, and Trevor's 2 girls to take care of. At that time, Trevor's 2 girls, it was shared custody as divorces go. So we had them week on, week off. A year went by and my son was not doing well, either making friends or in school. So he decided he wanted to go back and be with his sister and his father. So again, I'm mourning the loss of another child. Not like out of this world, but they're not physically with me anymore. I'm a mom. Was my purpose, to be their mom, and then they're gone. So most people lose their children when they come of age to go to college. That's when you get an empty nest. Mine was early, at the ages of 12 and 14. Over the past few years, Trevor's girls decided to live with their mom full time. So we haven't seen them in quite some time. God is still writing the pages on that story, so please, everyone here, lift it in prayer.
Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My son, he's doing well now. He's training to be a commercial helicopter pilot. And my daughter's back living with us again and still trying to figure out her future. Now, as for BFC, Tammy, my mama there, she once said, I didn't pick BFC, BFC picked me. Couldn't be more true, mama. There was a few BFC members in our church in the time we were going. We became friends with them, and we were drawn to the mission, riding to the gates of hell and set up a rescue shop there. Meeting people in their darkest moments, lost and broken. For instance, Power of the Patch channel, like we were at the Tim Hortons, I don't know where it was. Lady was looking at my husband's front of her in the lineup.
Here.
She was looking at his patch.
170th Street.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Okay. And she's sparked up a conversation with him, what's it all about, blah, blah, blah. And so he came back to the table and I said, you gotta go back and buy her meal. And he's like, really? I'm like, yep, you gotta go back and buy her meal. So we went back up and he says, excuse me, lady, can I buy your meal for you? She's like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I only have this much money and I had to choose, was it gonna be a place to sleep or was it gonna be a place to eat? She said, I chose food. She said, today now I can do both because we paid for her meal. Power of the Patch. So just to clue up, I kind of wanted to illustrate, not everybody's life is perfect. I bought a candle one time, big, every lady knows, 3 big candles, awesome, gorgeous. So when I got home, I broke it. And I was so mad, so upset. I'm like, this is garbage now. It's broken. And my husband's like, no, it'll still light. You still got a whole candle. It's just broken. So I was so mad, I broke out an argument. Nope, throw it in garbage. Nope, we're keeping it. I went away. When I came back, it was lit on the counter. And I was drawn to the light of it, right? Like, how often do we use our lives like that? We just, if it doesn't turn out okay, dreams fail, plans get shattered, people break our hearts, we just want to give up and throw it out. But every story, including mine, is full of loss and shame. But I always try to remember, a lot of people look past the broken vessel. He looks within. So that's what I want to be as a BFC. I want to look within. I'm not passing up the broken vessels. They need us more than anything.